There is a shallow white dish sitting on my kitchen floor right now with about an inch of warm water in it and one single drop of dish soap stirred through. There's a little nightlight plugged into the wall socket above it, 3 inches off the floor, throwing a soft glow down onto the water. By morning, there will be somewhere between 2 and 40 dead fleas floating in that dish. That dish costs about $4 to set up, and it is not a cure for anything. It will not solve a flea problem. What it is the only honest report card a body can get. Because the number floating in that water tomorrow morning tells me exactly how bad the trouble is under this roof, and whether the work I did last week is holding. My name is Gideon Schmidt. I keep 2 dogs that live in the house and sleep by the wood stove, 3 cats that work the barn and come in when it suits them, and about 40 feet of covered porch that every one of those animals considers their personal property. I've been through 2 real flea infestations in 20-some years in this place. The first one took me 4 months and cost more than I want to admit. The second one took 18 days. The difference between 4 months and 18 days was not a better product. It was understanding one number. That number is 5%. 5% of a flea problem is the fleas a body can actually see. The adult fleas crawl on the dog, the ones jumping on ankles in the hallway, the ones that end up in that dish overnight. 5%. The other 95% is eggs, larvae, and cocoons scattered through the carpet fibers, down in the cracks of the floorboards, under the deck, and in the shade along the north side of the house, where the dogs like to lie in August. So when a body sprays the dog, or bombs the living room, or hands a fellow $400 to come out with a tank and a wand, and the fleas are back in 12 days worse than before, nobody got cheated exactly. They just killed 5% of the problem and paid full price for it. I'm going to walk through the whole thing in the order I do it. The yard first, then the house, then the animals, then the schedule that ties it all together. I'll say what it costs and where it goes, and about 2/3 of the way through, I'm going to get to the part that should make a person uneasy, which is that there are flea remedies sold and passed around and repeated on the internet that will put a cat in the ground. Not make her sick, kill her. And they get recommended every single day by people who mean well and have no idea what they're handing out. Stay with me. By the end of this, there's a plan that runs about $70 in materials and takes 1 weekend to set up, and it works on the 95% instead of the 5%. Let me start with what a flea actually is, because none of the rest makes sense without it. The flea on the dog and the flea on the cat are the same animal. Cat flea, that's the name of the species, and she doesn't much care which mammal she's riding. She lives on the animal, she feeds on blood, and she lays eggs at a rate that ought to be illegal. 40 to 50 eggs a day out of one female. And here's the thing most folks have backwards. She does not lay those eggs in the carpet. She lays them on the animal. They're smooth and dry, and they roll right off like grains of salt wherever that animal walks, sleeps, shakes, or lies down. So every place the dog naps is a seedbed. The rug by the door, the spot under the porch steps, the shady corner behind the shrubs. That's where the eggs land. Those eggs hatch in a few days into larvae, and a larva is a little blind worm thing that hates light. It burrows down into the base of the carpet, where the vacuum doesn't reach. Down into the mulch, down into the crack between the porch board and the joist. And what it eats is flea dirt, that black pepper stuff a body finds when parting the fur on a dog's back end. That's dried blood, passed by the adult fleas, and it drops off the animal right alongside the eggs. The mother feeds her young by accident. It's an ugly, efficient little system. Then the larva spins a cocoon, and the cocoon is where every flea plant in America goes to die. That cocoon is sticky. It picks up carpet fiber and dust and grit until it's camouflaged, and it is close to waterproof. Sprays don't get through it well. It can sit there dormant for weeks. In a cool, empty house, it can sit for months, and what wakes it up is not time, it's vibration, warmth, and the carbon dioxide of something breathing nearby. Footsteps, a dog walking past. A family coming home from vacation. That is why a person treats the whole house on Saturday, sees nothing all week, feels pretty good about it, and then gets swarmed on the following Thursday. Nothing failed. The cocoons that were already there simply came due. Anybody who quits at day 10 quits about 4 days before it would have worked. Alright, so knowing that, here's how I do the yard. And the yard comes first because it's the reservoir that keeps refilling the house. The good news about a yard is that most of it is not the problem. Fleas cannot survive out in an open, sunny lawn. Direct sun and dry heat kill the larvae outright. So walking around spraying the whole half-acre is money poured on the ground. What a body wants is what the extension folks call focal treatment. Find the shade and the moisture and the traffic. That means under the deck, under the porch, along the north foundation. Beneath the shrubs where the dog sprawls in the afternoon, the dog run, the doghouse, the path from the back door to the fence, under the crawl space if there's an opening. That's 90% of the outdoor flea population living in maybe 5% of the ground. Step 1 out there is free, and it's a rake. Get the leaf litter out. Get the old mulch out of the dog's favorite bed down spot and haul it off. Mow short around the shaded edges. Thin the bottom of the shrubs so sunlight can reach the dirt underneath. Sun and air are the cheapest larvicide on this farm and always have been. Anywhere a person can turn a shady damp corner into a dry sunny one is a corner that stops producing fleas permanently. Step 2 is beneficial nematodes, and this is the piece I wish somebody had told me 20 years ago. Nematodes are microscopic soil-dwelling worms. The one for this job is called Steinernema carpocapsae. It comes in a package that looks like a sponge or a bag of damp powder, $30 or so at a garden supply or ordered in, and it treats a couple thousand square feet, which is far more than the shady strips that actually need it. These things hunt flea larvae in the soil. That's what they do for a living. And they don't harm dogs, cats, people, earthworms, or honeybees. They're already in soil the world over. The handling matters more than the application. They're alive, so they need to be kept cool and used reasonably fresh. Water the target areas first, so the soil is damp. Mix the nematodes into a sprayer or a watering can and go out in the evening or on a gray day, because ultraviolet light kills them. Then water them in again, lightly after. Keep those spots damp for a week or so. Soil needs to be warm, 60 degrees or better, or they won't do much. Apply once, then again in 2 or 3 weeks. In my place that's under the deck, the north foundation strip, both shrub beds and the shady half of the dog run, it takes about half an hour. Step 3 outdoors is food-grade diatomaceous earth, and it belongs only in the dry, protected places. Under the deck, inside the crawl space, under the porch steps. In the doghouse after the bedding comes out. It's fossilized diatom shell ground to powder, and it kills soft-bodied insects by scratching through the waxy layer that holds their moisture in, so they dry out. It works by physics, not poison, and nothing builds a resistance to being scratched. But 3 cautions on that dust and I'll not skip them. It only works dry, so it's useless on a wet lawn or after a rain. It doesn't know a flea larva from a ladybug or a honeybee, so it stays out of flowers and off anything blooming. And breathing, that dust is bad for lungs. Human and animal both. A dust mask goes on before the bag opens, and it goes down as a barely visible film worked into cracks, not a snowbank. Anybody who can see a white layer has put out about 10 times too much. Last thing on the outside, something is bringing new fleas onto the place, and it usually has fur and comes at night. Opossums, raccoons, feral cats, and stray dogs all carry cat fleas, and they all like denning up under a deck or a shed. Screening off the underside of the porch and the crawl space with hardware cloth is a one-time afternoon that keeps a body from doing all this work over again next spring. Same goes for feed left out. Now, if this is starting to make sense, if the reason last year's flea war got lost is starting to come clear, do me a favor and hit that like button. It helps this reach the next person standing in the driveway, wondering why they just paid $400 for nothing. And leave a comment with what part of the country this is being watched from, and how bad the fleas are running this year, because the season is wildly different from Florida to Montana, and I read every one of them, all right, inside the house. The first tool is the one already in the closet, and it does more than any bottle in this video. The vacuum. Vacuuming daily during an active infestation is not busy work. It pulls up eggs and it pulls up flea dirt, which starves the larvae that are left. It scrubs the base of the carpet fibers where those larvae are hiding from the light. And here's the part that makes it genuinely clever. The vibration and warmth of the machine going over the floor triggers the cocoons to hatch. That is exactly what a body wants. Those cocoons are armored against everything else, so the strategy is to coax them open early and meet the adults with a treated floor and a vacuum. Flow passes. The edges and baseboards matter more than the middle of the room, because that's where the larvae migrate. Under the couch cushions, under the bed, along the closet floor, and the pet's sleeping spot most of all. Then the canister or the bag goes straight outside into a sealed sack and into the trash can, not left sitting in the machine in the utility room, or it's just a flea nursery with a handle on it. Second is the laundry, and heat is the whole point. Every bit of pet bedding, every throw blanket, the sheets, the couch cover, all of it goes in on the hottest water the fabric can stand, and then through a full hot dryer cycle. The dryer is what does the killing. Sustained heat takes out eggs, larvae, adults, cocoons, the whole family. Weekly, all through the fight. Third is steam, and this is the closest thing to a silver bullet indoors. Heat and moisture together will kill every life stage, including the cocoons that shrug off sprays. A rented carpet steamer runs $40 for a day, or a handheld steam cleaner is around $60 and gets used forever after.
The high-value targets are the pet's bed-down area, the carpet edges along the baseboards, and the upholstery seams. It's slow work.
It's also the difference between fighting the 95% and just annoying it. Fourth, and this is the one I'd rate as the real workhorse for anybody with a serious infestation, is an indoor spray with an insect growth regulator in it. The active ingredient to look for on the label is pyroproxyfen. Some products use methoprene. What these do is imitate the hormone that keeps a young flea from growing up. Eggs don't hatch. Larvae never mature. The cocoons already in the floor may open, but that generation is the end of the line. A quart of concentrate runs $25 or $30 and mixes out to cover a whole house several times over. It goes down as a light, even mist on the carpets, along the baseboards, under the furniture, and on the upholstery, following the label rate exactly. Then the animals and children stay off the treated rooms until it's completely dry. That is not a suggestion, that's the whole safety margin. Once it's dry, it holds for months, and indoors, out of sunlight, it stays put and keeps working. On the outside of the house, it breaks down in daylight fairly quickly, which is why the yard plan leans on nematodes instead. And then there's that soapy dish under the nightlight. It won't clear a house, it catches adults only, and only the ones that happen to hop toward the glow. What it's for is knowing. Count the dish every morning and write the number down. 22 on Monday, 14 Thursday, 6 the next Tuesday, 1 after that. That's a war being won. If that number is flat or climbing after 2 weeks of proper work, something in the plan is being skipped. And 9 times out of 10, it's the yard or it's the animal. Which brings me to the animal, and to the part I said would make a body uneasy. Everything I've described is worthless if the dog and the cat are still walking flea factories. The animal is the printing press. The house and yard are just where the money lands. And treating that animal is the one piece of this that does not belong to me, or to a video, or to the internet. It belongs to a veterinarian. Here's why I'm firm on that. The homemade and over-the-counter flea remedies passed around freely are not all harmless, and a few of them are lethal. Permethrin is the big one. It's a common insecticide, it's in a great many dog flea products, and it is safe enough for a dog at labeled dose. In a cat, it can cause tremors, seizures, and death. Cats simply lack the liver enzyme to process it. That means no dog flea product on a cat, ever. Not a smaller dose, not a partial tube. It also means a freshly treated dog stays away from the cat until that spot is completely dry, because cats groom what they lie against. Essential oils are the second one, and this is where good intentions do the most damage. Tea tree oil, pennyroyal, wintergreen, eucalyptus, citrus oil, concentrated peppermint. These get recommended constantly as the natural, gentle option. Cats cannot break down those compounds the way people and dogs can, and they end up poisoned by an oil somebody rubbed on them out of kindness. Pennyroyal is dangerous to dogs too. Anything that says natural is not thereby safe. Hemlock is natural, nicotine is natural, and the old barn wisdom that garlic in the feed keeps fleas off. I have to be honest and let that one go. Garlic and onion damage red blood cells in both dogs and cats. It never worked well on fleas anyway. I heard it my whole life, and it's wrong. What does work on the animal safely is a modern prescription flea preventive from the veterinarian, matched to that species and that weight, given on schedule, $60 to $90 for a season, and it is the cheapest part of this entire plant measured against what it does. For an emergency right now, before an appointment, a plain dish soap bath will drown the fleas that are on the animal at that moment, and a flea comb dragged through the coat into a bowl of soapy water is safe enough for a kitten too young for anything else. But neither one has any lasting effect. By evening, she can be reinfested from the same carpet she was standing on this morning. Now the schedule, because timing is what most folks get wrong. Day 1 is the big day. Vacuum the whole house, strip and wash every bit of bedding hot, steam the pet areas and carpet edges, apply the indoor growth regulator, and let it dry. Outside, rake the shade out, screen the deck, dust the dry protected spots, and put the nematodes down that evening. Days 2 through 21, vacuum daily. Empty it outside every time. Wash the pet bedding weekly. Count the dish every morning. Around day 10 to 14, expect a bounce. Fleas will show up. It will feel like the whole thing failed. That's the cocoon batch hatching on schedule right into a treated house, exactly the way it's supposed to go. Anybody who quits there has done all the work and thrown away the harvest. Keep vacuuming. Repeat the nematodes in the yard for 2 to 3 weeks. Redust the dry spots after any heavy rain. By week 4, the dish ought to be reading 0 or close to it. From then on, it's the animal's preventive on schedule. The shady spots kept raked, and the vacuum went over the pet's bed down area once a week. That's the maintenance forever after. Total on the materials the first time through. Somewhere around $70 plus the vet visit. A professional flea service runs $250 to $400 to start, and generally wants a follow-up.
And if the yard reservoir and the animal aren't handled, that fellow will be back out in a month through no fault of his own. I'll say plainly what this plan will not do. It will not clear the house on the weekend.
Anybody promising that is selling something. 3 weeks is a good run. 6 weeks is normal in a bad one. And in a warm, humid climate with an old carpeted house, it can take longer. Fleas have been at this a very long while and they're good at it. But the work is straightforward, most of it is free, and it doesn't require anything sprayed around a family that a body would be uneasy about. So for the weekend ahead, rake the shade out and open it to the sun. Screen off under the deck. Put nematodes down in the damp shaded strips at dusk. Dust the dry protected corners lightly with a mask on. Vacuum every day and take the bag out every time. Wash and hot dry every scrap of bedding. Steam the sleeping spots. Set the soapy dish under a night light and keep score. And get the animals onto a proper preventive from somebody with a license and a scale. Drop a comment with how many showed up in the dish on morning one, because I'd honestly like to see the numbers and say what's being fought. Dogs, cats, or both, and whether it's the house or the yard that's the worst of the two. Next time I want to get into ticks, which are a different animal entirely with a different plan, and higher stakes. And there's one thing about where ticks actually live on a property that changes how a person mows for the rest of their life. If you want more plain-spoken pest plans like this, subscribe so you do not miss the tick guide when it comes out. One last word before I go. I raise animals. I don't doctor them. Nothing in here is veterinary advice, and anything that goes on or in a dog or a cat ought to come from a licensed veterinarian who has laid hands on that particular animal. If something's already scratching itself raw, or losing hair, or looking poorly, that's a phone call today, not a project for Saturday. Until then, keep the shade raked out, keep the dryer running hot, and remember the fleas a body can see were never the problem worth worrying about.